Okay, lesson 6.1. All you need to do is type some words into this little box here where it says there are no wrong answers. Right below that, you type whatever you want in there. You're supposed to be predicting what it's going to do. It creates a painter, moves them around, and picks up the paint and paints things white. So if you run your program, you'll see that it does that. Compiling, running, there it goes. Mine actually has some colors in there. So we're going to click finish on that after we run it. And we're moving on to 6.2. In 6.2, it tells you to go to the documentation tab, but it doesn't require you to do that. So there is a documentation tab, and if you click on it, there's a little arrow in the top right corner. If you click on that, it brings out a whole web page that is much easier to read than this little window here. So use that arrow to bring out your documentation, but we don't really have to look at the documentation to pass this level. All we need to do is try calling the take paint method 3 times to take all the paint in the bucket. So if you go to your editor and you scroll down to where it says add your code here to take paint from the paint bucket, that's where you're going to add your code to take paint. So you're going to type ella.takepaint 3 times. Always have to end each line of code with open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. Ella, take paint. Remember the P is capitalized in take paint. Anytime you have more than one word in your command, you have to capitalize the first letter of that word. So if you have 2 words, the first letter of the second word is capitalized. If you have 3 words, then the first letters of the second and third word are capitalized. And if you don't capitalize it, it will not run it. But for 6.2, you write that ella take paint 3 times, make sure that there are no bugs, and then when you run it, it will run successfully. Then you have to test it to make sure that it did what it was supposed to do, and then click finish.
Wait, it didn't move.
On 6.3, it again tells you to go to the documentation page. Are we on 6.4?
And salt.
6.4 is what we're on. So in this one, it says look at the possible colors for the paint method. You don't have to look at the possible colors because they're all basic colors plus a bunch of other ones, but if you want to, go to the documentation page, go to the neighborhood code, click on painter, because that's where we are, we're doing the neighborhood painter, and about a third of the way down the page, there are all of the color options. But your major colors like red, green, brown, blue, white, those are all available. So you don't necessarily have to look at all the possibilities. You just need to choose some different colors. And it says try changing the colors in the program to some of the available colors. And that I did also at the bottom where it says add your code below this line. I had ella turn left, then I had ella paint Dodger blue, move forward, paint khaki, move forward again, and paint olive drab. So when my program runs, you can see in my preview over here that at that point it does paint Dodger blue, move, paint khaki, move, paint olive drab. So if you have done that, if you have tried changing the colors in the program to some of the available colors, it should allow you to finish. There are no tests for that level. For level 6.5, it's a mix and match question. These are the answers, but beyond just getting the answers, you want to understand what they mean. A method is a name of set instructions to perform a task. Move, turn left, paint, pick up paint, all of those things are methods together. A string literal, it's just a word. It's a sequence of characters enclosed in quotation marks. So for example, for a color, we need to choose a string. White, W-H-I-T-E, or black, B-L-A-C-K. We have to choose a literal string. A parameter defines what type of value to receive. So it could be a string, or it could be a number or an integer. Just depends on what you're looking for in that parameter. The argument is the specific value provided when a method or constructor is called.
That's very cool.
Like it.
Okay, if you click submit, you'll get the correct answer and allow you to move to 6.6. This is the level where many students struggled. So I'm going to do level 6.6A, turn the corner. No, you just need to do A, and that's it.
Have all that. Mine's empty.
You should have on lesson 6 the options to do A, B, C, or D. Yes, you will not have any code in yours. Mine's already finished because I've done it before. Yours is going to be empty, so you have to create all the code for level 6.6, which is why so many people struggle, because they don't remember anything that they did in the previous levels. So the first thing you need to do in level 6.6 is to instantiate a painter object. Just like it says in the to-do. Instantiate a painter object, then use the methods, that's these commands here, in the painter class to navigate and paint the path to the traffic cone. It even has a GIF that shows you exactly what your goal is. Your goal is to move forward, pick up all the paint, and then paint every square remaining until you get to the cone, using simple instructions like move and turn left. So first thing again is to instantiate your painter objects. You use our object. Create a painter, name it whatever you want. I named mine Joe, so I said painter Joe equals new painter.
They
That's,
didn't take no paint.
you need to make sure that you're calling it correctly. If you do not capitalize the P in paint, it won't run correctly. And again, your console, read your console, it'll tell you where the errors are if there is a bug. So you need to read the console and be like, okay, it's telling me there's an error on line 22. Wherever the error is, that's where you need to go to. But you instantiate the object, call the painter whatever you want, and then the first method that you need to do is turn left 3 times, because the painter is facing the wrong direction. We want them to be facing down, so we have to turn left 3 times. Then we want to move forward so it goes on top of the bucket. And once you're on top of the bucket, you need to take all the paint. There are 5 paints in the bucket, so you're going to take paint 5 times. There's a better way to do that, but for now, just take the paint 5 times. Copy and paste is your best bet. Write the line 1 time, copy and paste it 4 more times, so you have 5 paints. Instantiate the painter, turn left 3 times, move forward, then take paint 5 times. After you've taken the paint, then you need to start painting the squares. So you do that. You do joe.paint, or whatever your painter's called, .paint, and you need to choose the color. I just did white like they did in the example. So mine says joe.paint white, and the white is in parentheses. Needs to be in parentheses. So that painted the square where the bucket was white. Then I moved forward, turned left, and painted the next square white. Excuse me. You could paint it white right after you move forward, just as long as you paint the first and the second square starting at the bucket. Okay. Then, for the last 3 squares, you should be facing towards the right. You should write painter.paint white, then move forward and paint white again. And you do that, move forward, paint white 3 times. So once you have move forward and paint white, you can just copy and paste that a couple more times so that it paints all the remaining squares white. Now when I run my program here, it should look like just like what it does in the instructions.
They don't paint.
And if you click test, it should run the test, and it should show in your console that you have completed each of the 4 tests that it looks for. That is what it requires for 6.6.
How many times do you have to say
6.7. 6.7. So once you finish 6.6, you submit it. And then 6.7 is just a multiple choice where the answer is D. The missing code wants you to paint a square white, turn left, and then move forward 1. That's what needs to go in this missing code spot on line 19. Okay, once you submit on 6.7, you should be able to move on to level or lesson 7.
Yeah.
On lesson 7, 7.1, it's again a predict and run. What do you think this program will do? Move and paint. You can put whatever you want there. There are no wrong answers. Just put an answer or some collection of symbols into that box. Click run and finish. 6.1. Recording. Level 7.2, it's asking us to do this. Go to the Help and Tips tab and find the documentation for while loops. What does it do? How does it work? Again, you should do that. Go into while loops, study it, figure out how it works, and then just click run. You don't have to do any actual change to the code on 7.2. All you need to do is read and finish it. For level 7.3, it again says go to the documentation tab, and it says look at the can move is on bucket and has paint methods. What information do these do? What information do they give? You again do not need to do anything to the code. You just need to look at the information, click run, and finish.
Bro, never talk about it.
All right, to do, change the condition for the second while loop on line 16 to Jesse can move. I've already done mine, but yours should say something like has paint. You're gonna change line 16, specifically what it says right here in the instructions, to can move. Then you're gonna run it, and it'll tell you what to do. Then you click finish. Okay, the next part, 7.5, again, it has a to do, and it says on line 34, so we go down to line 34, and it says to change line 34 to has paint. Mine's already done here because I've already done this level, but you're gonna change this to has paint. Then you're gonna run, and you're gonna see what happens. It does the exact same thing. It doesn't really affect anything. So now that that's finished, you can move on to level 7.6, which is this matching question. An algorithm is a finite set of instructions that accomplishes any task. Algorithms apply to anything. Anything that accomplishes a task is an algorithm. An iteration statement is a control structure that repeatedly executes a block of code. It's like a loop. It's an iteration. The condition is what determines whether or not to do that iteration. So a condition would be like while it's on the bucket, or while it's has paint, or while Mr. Haberman is at the front of the class. Those are conditions. Methods are, again, a set of instructions that perform a task. So they're basically little algorithms or things that allow you to accomplish things. Like, for example, to turn right, you need to turn left 3 times. That would be a method. Once you have those, you can click submit. You're almost done with level 7. The hard part on level 7 is level 7.7. A. Always choose A when we're doing these because that's the one that's going to be covered in class. And if you didn't notice, if you look in your Google Classroom under lesson 7, there is an attached image. It says lesson 7.7a. Also inside lesson 7, it says the attached image. Oops. The attached image may help in solving lesson 7, level 7, part A. So if you click on that image, it gives you the answer. I anticipated that you guys would struggle with this because I did too. So I gave you the answer. Keep in mind though, if you are off by 1 parentheses or one of these braces, it's not going to run. It's going to give you an error and you're going to be like, what? I did it exactly like you did it. But no, you didn't. You made an error. If there's one tiny symbol that's in the wrong spot, you gotta find it. And again, that'll show up in your console. Let's say, for example, I delete this brace. That's gonna give an error for me. So when I said, oh, since we couldn't compile your program, look for bugs, and it says go to line 31. Reach end of the file while parsing. Anytime it says that word parsing, that means you're missing one of these braces. Okay? If you click on a specific brace, an open brace, it should correlate with a closing brace. So if I click on this one, it should correlate with one on the end, and it doesn't. So that means I'm missing one on the end. So I need to put one in here, the one I deleted, namely. Now when I run it, it's going to run correctly. The basic premise here, though, is that you're creating or instantiating a new object. I always called mine Joe. Painter Joe equals new painter. And then I'm moving Joe, turning them right, moving them again so that they're on the bucket. And then for this, you have to use a loop. You can't just say take paint a bunch of times. It will not allow you to finish. So you have to use this while loop. While Joe is on the bucket, and look, there are a total of 4 parentheses on that line. There's an open and close for the while loop, and then there's an open and close for is on bucket. That succeeds it. And then you have an open brace, so where you put the method for while Joe's on bucket. Joe take paint. So while Joe is on the bucket, he's going to take the paint. Okay, if you have your code correct, it'll allow you to run, test, and finish. There's a picture of this in your Google Classroom.